Hi, how you doing? I'm Ralph Rolle, drummer and entrepreneur, and I am at Abbey Road Institute, Paris. I started drumming at a very young age, and it was the total inspiration from my brother. He was the drummer first. So the drums ended up in our bedroom. We had a very small bedroom, like 8 by 10 bedroom, and the drums was right in the middle. I came home one day, it was like, whoa, these are drums in the bedroom. This is the coolest thing. My brother is right-handed and I'm left-handed. So the space was small, and I would say to my brother, could I play? But he said, just don't change the drums around because the space is too small. So I had to play as a left-handed drummer on a right-handed kit, which, ended up being a good thing later on. And I didn't know if it was wrong or right, which made me understand there's actually no right or wrong way. It's, like for example, if someone would have told Jimi Hendrix not to play guitar the way he did, what would we have gotten, So me being an open-handed drummer came from the fact that my brother had drums in the room and told me play and don't change them around. My experience at the Apollo Theater came in the early 90s. I think around 1993, I started working at the Apollo. I got a phone call that the drummer, legendary drummer named Buddy Williams, couldn't do the gig. And he gave him my number, and they called me to sub for him. And what was so incredible is this is the first time I ever subbed for Buddy Williams. And I had just recently met someone, Buddy, that I had admired for decades, but I never met him because I turned over the album cover and his name was like on every single album. So I'm like, who in the world is this Buddy Williams guy? So I went down, I learned the theme of the song, the theme of the show, which was the song that Ralpg had written. And I did the show, read the music, sung a little bit, and they really liked what they heard. Now, it's Buddy's gig, but Buddy was always, and still is, always busy. So they wanted somebody who was a little more stationary and not so busy. So Ray called me and said, would you like to have the gig? So the first thing I said to him, this is, Buddy Williams' gig. He said, don't worry about that. I'll talk to Buddy. Me and Buddy have a long history, and I ended up staying at the Apollo from that point for 15 years. We did the TV show at Showtime at the Apollo for many seasons. And I did the Amateur Night, which is a very iconic American show. There were some points at the Apollo when we were doing the TV show that we had to do an entire season in 4 days. That means all of the music needed to be prepared. We were there from sometimes 6 in the morning until 1 in the morning. And then we had to turn around and come back at 6 in the morning again to be able to cover that much time with that many people to play for. It was a very intense time because you had to play for an artist that you've never played for before and had to make it sound like you played for them many times. So the time at the Apollo taught me a lot about just working together, getting things right. A lot of the techniques that I used to prepare came a lot from those times as being at the Apollo. But the biggest thing in working at the Apollo is it's the Apollo. And everybody that I loved, and I actually saw the Jackson 5 for the first time at the Apollo. And I was only 10 years old, Michael Jackson was only 10 years old, and he tore the room down. So my first time I stepped on stage at the Apollo, it was very emotional. I almost cried because I was like, oh wow, I'm at the Apollo. When I left the Apollo, I had done a gig that was co-musical directed by Nile and Ralpg. And that was the first time Nile got a chance to really hear me play. I made a decision to work with Nile because I've always wanted to work with Nile. And I felt that the time that I had spent at the Apollo had kind of run its course, and there was no more room for growth there. So I decided to leave and work with Nile. And it's been amazing. As far as the sound of Nile and Chic from the time I started to now, it has evolved, and very much for the better. There's more paying attention to the details of what the music was, especially for me, because basically playing what Tony Thompson played a lot of times is amazing. to just understand his approach and his thinking about what the music is. And that's one of the techniques that I've always done. If I'm playing someone else's music, my thing is to always go back and listen to the original recording, and then if there's a live recording, listen to the live recording, and then make applications not only with the tuning of my drums, but the types of choices that I make as far as what I'm going to play. And that's kind of what's kept me working for so long, is that paying attention to details about what the song is asking for. Because to me, it has nothing to do with me. It's all about the music. I'm trying to access what the music is asking of me, you know. So I'm just a vehicle, in my opinion. Many of the gigs that I've done in my life before Nile and even with Nile is because of what the band is all about. Like, for example, when I was in the Apollo band, and I was fortunate to name the band Ralpg and the Crew, which ended up being the name of the band for many years, we had a sound. It was only 4 guys, but we had a sound. And that sound was tight. And it had dynamic range. We could all sing, you know, we could get stuff done really quick. And producers saw that. And they were like, these 4 guys are really good. So we would get calls to do other gigs. And then those other gigs were for other artists like Stevie Wonder and Al Green and just a whole host of different folks. But it had to be the right connection of musicians to make that happen. And then when we would get there might be a string section and a horn section and singers, but the core 4 was the sound. Same thing with Nile Rodgers. Nile is an accomplished writer and producer for decades. But the sound of the band and how we came across just opened up more doors for more opportunity, you know. And I'm proud to say that I was part of that evolving sound. And I'm not saying it was bad before. I'm just saying it's different now. I've seen a lot of master classes. I think many musicians, especially now with the internet, they have access to a lot of information, which is incredible. It's like, I call it having the keys to the castle. But what I was seeing in many of the master classes, not all, that you were going to not walk away with information, but you went to see a show. That was kind of a frustrating thing for me, because I feel as if we as professional musicians have a lot of great information to pass on, a lot. And it's not so much about sitting behind my kit and playing a whole bunch of stuff. It's more about my experiences from where I started to where I am that will hopefully translate to the classes that they have the ability to do it too. For me to come from such humble beginnings and sitting in front of, you know, kids, adults, to explain to them that I'm no different than you is important for them to hear, especially when they see me doing certain things and they go, wow, that's really great. I just saw him on Glastonbury, and I just saw him on X Factor, and I just saw him on all of these, you know, different shows, and I look on the credits on the screen and I see his name. It's like, who is this guy? But I'm honestly, I'm just a guy, just like they're just people. And that's the connection I wanted to make, is to let them understand that if I could do this, there's no difference between me and you. All you have to do is just get out of your own way, and so many great things can happen with that.